And there's Patty coming in.
Well, hello,
Pattie,
Patty.
how are
What
you?
happened? Well, I was just about set up to do the meeting, and David went and started screwing with the cable again. We lost
Okay,
cable, internet, phone, everything.
Who's David?
My brother.
brother.
This is the third time, and I've told him never to touch it again without asking first. And he went and did it again. And took
Is,
internet, phone, and cable down.
is there any kind of
Uh,
communication problem there?
well, this is kind of funny. So just to put the L&M thing to rest and to bed, I actually kind of like, I'm with Patty like this the last 4 years. So I actually know that she lives with her brothers and I hear their voices. So they're not exactly estranged and all this crap that went on that they alleged.
Well, Patty, I was talking to this Peter Paget. He asked me to do this thing, I think 10 days ago, about
I watched
Fukushima.
it.
Yeah,
I
and
watched it.
so we're looking for solutions. I saw some important information there. I mean, we're talking about bent waters, the Russians, and all the nuclear weapons being transmutated into just iron. Is that possible for the entire Pacific Ocean? Or what can we do with Fukushima? I mean, to
At
me,
this
that looks
point,
like something that was designed to fail.
well, it was. And it was taken down deliberately for a purpose which is being served, which was to desalinate the ocean. So if Gaia managed to get the South Magnetic Pole off the Arctic ice, that energy would not go in the ley lines.
Has that happened? Because it seems to be moving up to
Yeah,
Peru.
the South Magnetic Pole is now over the ocean, but they desalinated the ocean. The whole point of putting it over the Antarctica is because fresh water does not conduct electrical energy. Salt water does, but they've now desalinated the ocean with radioactive content. Binds to the salt, takes it down to the bottom, and kills off the bottom of the food chain. So they accomplished multiple goals with that.
This is very serious. Is there anything we can do, or are you doing?
I've told either. I suggested they basically need to fill up that stuff with concrete, and a friend of mine says they've got a new artificial plastic sort of stuff that would also be able to do the something similar. But let me give you I'm doing a screen share, and I'll give you a graphic representation of where things were back in 2012. It's way worse now, but where is it? I had opened it up, so I'd have it ready, and now because of everything else, I've gone running around. Japan, it's the movies. This is the geological. Okay. This is was the original. This is number one. That's what it did. The corium. This is all four of them. Now, this is where the WAD from number 3 was in 2012. In 2014, the last time I looked at it was 2014. This WAD was down 6 kilometers deep. Now, bear in mind, this water table goes right out to the ocean. So all the water they're pouring in is picking up radioactive content and going right out into the ocean. So what they're actually pumping out of the top into those tanks is just more radioactive water. I mean, it's useless. You have to plug these up and stop throwing more and more water in them.
But there's some word that that's actually destabilizing the foundations and the actual buildings.
It's way worse than that, because number 3 had plutonium in it, and all you need is a fist size amount of it. And they had each rod that was in there, which weighs about 1,200 pounds. Of that, 750 pounds is fissionable material. So it doesn't take much to get a fistful. And I mean, I was doing this and reporting on this until they cut me out of the database. This is the difference. This green line, this on the seismogram, that's an underground fissioning criticality event. It's a blast underground. It's much different than a regular earthquake. And I was tracking them. The amount of times it was going off underground, we were having major steam out events and everything. But even that is not the major issue. As bad as that is minimalistic compared to the shit that's actually going on there. The building that holds the spare rods, the 6,400 of them, has burned 5 times. They've put a new building on it 3 times. And I got the video of that. Matter of fact, I got video of everything, all the robots and the overflights and all of that. I have all of them. But yeah, they burned all that stuff up into the atmosphere. Where is it? Shared pool.
I remember being in Amsterdam when the first batch of that came over in the atmosphere, and the rain sent off my Geiger counter. And when I lifted my bag up, which contained a Geiger counter, the dry patch was substantially lower in radiation than the wet rain that came in.
If you notice here, the whole top, the half section, and all the cooling equipment and the top floor of the building are now missing. Because that top floor burned right off and they just slapped another roof on without putting the top floor back on. That's what I mean. There's so much stuff that's gone on. They've rebuilt this pool. One of the burns ate the original crane, so they had to get a new crane and everything. The whole pool design is different now. This is what it is now. The skimmer pool and the thing to transfer the rods into casks downstairs isn't even here anymore. This is when they were doing that fake display of the rod that they supposedly pulled out of pool number 4, which they actually put in the night before. And as you can see down in the bottom, the rods are actually fissioning. They irradiated everybody that was there from the media for that little presentation. I mean, so I chronicled this over time. All the stupid stuff they've done. Here's a picture of the shared pool building burning the roof off. I got the full footage of that.
That's a big fire.
Yeah, that's the shared pool building.
That's optical. Is that an optical or is it infrared?
That's optical.
That's good fun. It's so off the scale. It's not fun, but it's
no. I mean, I've got the cameras from down in the pool. See, if you look at this, right? See what that looks like. Day 2. This is the video from inside. This rim of this pool looks nothing like this now. This is the original one from day 2. Does that look anything like this? This is when the skimmer pool was still there. This is after burn 1. That place is burned 5 times. They keep taking all the spare rods out of 1, 2, and 4 and moving them here, and then it burns again. What do you do with that? If you look at this, all this cooling equipment that used to be up on the roof is no longer there. They took it all off. And this floor right here with the windows in it that faced east and west, that's these lines here, and there's another one on the other side, that whole floor is gone. They burned it off. So, if you really want to talk about toxin, most of it is already in the atmosphere. So,
if I could just interject for a second too, Miles, I think what people need to realize too is Pattie's intense background, besides doing some contract stuff for NASA, is that Pattie was over with, the Gulf War, but you were the NBC officer for the nuclear specialist. You're the nuclear expert for your Army, for the U.S. Army thing.
I've got all the stuff because when I worked at Polaris, I built all the cameras and the robots and stuff they use. So I've got all the footage from all the robots, all the overflights, the stuff they stuck down inside to look at. I've got all the vid, including from the robots with the rad readings and everything else. There are no secrets for me. I know everything that went on there.
Okay, what are the secrets? What's the scale? A lot of people don't understand these figures about radiation, microsilvers or whatever. What does this mean to the food that's coming out of the Pacific Ocean and ultimately the Atlantic Ocean.
If you want to look at this and go with one common across the board measurement, go with CPM. Okay? That's counts per minute. And what that is active neutrons coming off of radioactive content and banging into the meter. Counts per minute, CPM. That's the most universal and commonality across all the different nations, different things, REMS and sieverts and all of that. CPM is the commonality across all of them. These things went up. Fukushima went up over 17,000 CPM. That's bits of free neutrons through the air impacting the meter. Okay.
Now, what's dangerous on this? Oh dear, sorry.
Well, it used to be 100, but they keep bumping the limit up. Now it's up. They bumped the safe limit up to 1,000. As the rads went up, they just kept bumping the limit up. Actually, there is no safe amount of radioactive.
It's been suggested. It's been suggested that they've been dumping radiation all across Japan, so that the background radiation can be safe, but they're just bumping up the background.
Look at this. This is a pipe from those tanks that goes right into the street drain and out into the ocean. Okay. What they're doing. You got to understand why they're doing that. They're picking up all the debris. From the contaminated, mostly, the major contaminated area, and they're taking it all around the rest of Japan and burning it. And what that does is, if it came to a court case, from a medical perspective, they're removing the non-infected control group, so that you cannot build a court case against them. That's what they've done.
What's this going to impact on lives?
Oh, they're genetically damaged permanently. That's why you're getting a lot of cancers and everything. And even the ones that actually survive the exposure, it takes 10 generations to work back out of the genome the damage that's done from a single event like this. And that's only provided they get the hell out of the damage zone, the radioactive zone. 10 generations before the damage to the genome that's been done to those people can be recovered from. 10 generations.
Well, a Japanese colleague, a friend of ours, who used to go to the Phoenix UFO Congress, I think he's passed away now, he was basically saying it's the end of the Japanese people.
Pretty much. The only Japanese people left to carry on that addition of Gaia's children are the ones who weren't living in Japan. Gaia's going to have to do a reseeding from Eden on that group, because they're pretty much wiped out. This isn't uranium that they were using in number 3. They were running plutonium. Not a natural substance. There is nothing in nature to get rid of it out of the body. And it goes directly to your sex organs because it mimics a mineral needed by the body.
Now, is there something bigger going on here in terms of infecting Gaia's mathematical genome itself, the actual life-creating fundamental force of what's happening?
Oh, like I said, if we go back over to all my genetic stuff and the all the workup I did on the NCVI and what they're doing, they are actually tracking the radiation damage, because what the radiation damage does is it breaks these are individual letters of your genetic code. A 1.00 means it's intact. Anything less than that means it's been split open, and the data in each letter of your genetic coding has fallen out. Your 21st chromosome can seal the case back up, but it cannot put the data back in. And as you can see, they're keeping control groups and monitoring just how well they're damaging you all around the entire planet. The coding that's in these letters inside the casing of each of those is this. It's the if you think of it as computer coding, those letters hold the go-to lines. When you get done with this bit of coding, go to line 6 on chromosome 4 and run there. These cross-connect code jumps. It's like computer coding. When you get done with running this bit of genetic coding, it's a jump, a go-to line. Go to this chromosome, that specific line in that chromosome, and run that. This is the coding that's in those letters. That's in this stuff that they're deliberately breaking. And your 21st chromosome can only seal this back up. And as you can see, a lot of these, there's no data in them. They're empty. 0, 0, 0. This one's lost a whole crap load. This C has only got 0.0133 left in it of the connects, of the jump codes to go to a different chromosome, different line, and run that code. This is like taking a computer programming and taking 90% of the go-tos out of it, or just miscoding them to go to the wrong place. This is what they're doing deliberately.
But humans could not be doing this. Who is doing this? What's their agenda?
The ET human hybrids, your Cabal members, your Anunnaki, and your half-human Dracos. This is to reduce the human population.
Well, as John Irwin says, they're planning to kill us all.
Mm-hmm. All but 2%. They want to keep 2% as slaves and to farm for valuable DNA code snippets.
It's like your 2030. It's your Agenda 21. It's the Guidestones.
Now, the Anunnaki already messed up a lot of those links when they did this. They cut a little bit off the top of chromosome 2 and the bottom of chromosome 3, merged them together, which automatically screwed up all the go-to lines for chromosome 1 and 2. That created, in and of itself, 25,000 genetic defects in that one little maneuver alone. That's what brought us from 48 chromosome down to 46. They don't care.
And so we've got to look at the solutions right now. Like we said about the alkalization, getting the CELMAC, getting the enclaves that Pattie's looking at designing. I mean, what we saw, and I just talked earlier, Pattie, before you were on about, I talked a little bit, but even that thing that happened in Turkey, we're watching that come inbound because we're really tired of people talking about Nibiru and Planet X and all this kind of stuff. That's not in our future. It's not going to happen.
Well, here's the thing. Salmonaic. Without salmonaic, you can't rebuild your third spiral. It's a gyroscopic transmitter, helps turn on all the DNA, whether the jump codes are there or not. Okay, you need that. That turns your body back into an energy storage device. You got to have your correct pH level to stop receiving the low frequency programming they're sending out on TVs, radios, cell phones, all that. This code, this is mitochondrial 10 code that Gaia is broadcasting to repair your DNA. She's putting in every male and female's mainstream DNA, and this is pissing off the Cabals big time. Matter of fact, this is the sequence done on Mr. Wheeler, who is one of the head people of the Human Genome Program. They tried to give him some new abilities by adding some ET DNA to give him more abilities. This promptly removed it.
Now, explain that. Explain that. I mean, I'm aware of a lot of the signals, but explain what that code that you're talking about.
This is my original, factory original as made by Gaia, mitochondrial 10 code that she is broadcasting to all humans and putting it in their mainstream DNA to take out all the modifications they've made and put it back to original factory condition. This is what they specifically targeted the wireless internet and your wireless phone broadcast towers to drown out. It's drowning out this repair code signal that she's trying to put into all of her humans to fix them.
But this is being rebroadcast using all these standing stone networks. The analysis of the ancient standing stones, these megaliths, are retransmitting this toxic code.
No, this is not a toxic code.
No,
this
no,
is from Gaia.
the other stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, all the Gwen Towers and all of that. That's why I put the crystal and the changeover rebroadcast arrays over all the obelisk and the what do you call it? The
megaliths.
No, the Cleopatra needles.
Yeah.
Those are all the ones with actual spell work on them that I have to do. And I did the same thing to the Eiffel Tower because they were using that for a broadcast antenna and, all of that. And the pyramids and,
There's some interesting towers in the south coast of England on places like Brighton, Weymouth, which have been identified by locals as definitely some kind of toxic transmission system.
This is what they're doing. That's it right there. That's the graphic representation of what they're doing.
I've seen that grid system somewhere before.
Yep. There's several.
In Ireland, I've seen it over Ireland, over the broadcast system there.
And beyond that, just in case, they're actually, messing with everything in your food, water, and everything else, including, all your hormones. These are all the actual programs where they're building these things to screw you up as part of the Human Genome Program. And here's the problem. Most of the work that's being done on this, it's being done by grad students and stuff in universities all over the planet who are actually doing the actual footwork of this, submitting it to these people because they don't understand what that data is being used for.
Kind of like Keshi's. Using people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they did it with 28 scientists with that stuff they got out of Thule Island. I've just been speaking to a guy who was in Thule Island standing on 400 containers, 2 meters by 1.5 meters in interlocking network in Thule Island during the Falklands War. He's very sick at the moment, but they brought that to England, killed 28 scientists.
Look what they got on chromosome 2, programmed cell death. It's a master switch. They can give you a chemical, activate that, and in 4 days you die.
Kind of like Dr. Kildare. Rudy.
Yes.
One of the things
that's how they took out Lloyd Pye.
Yes.
He had no cancer at all. They gave him, it was like a Banaka spray. He inhaled it through his nose. 4 days later, he was dead of supposedly of cancer.
Miles, you asked me something just to show something really simple. And sometimes the simplest things people need to realize. When you're drinking just water out of the tap, it's really acidifying. It keeps you in that lower chakras. I've got spring water here. So I'm really blessed at Petrarca. I go get mine every 2 weeks here. So it's slightly alkaline. But most people don't have that advantage. So just by actually taking, and I'm just going to show you what the 4 minerals of Bicarb does. Just the tiniest little bit of baking soda here takes that water and look how deep it is. Which chakra do you want to live in? It's that simple. Yeah. And some people don't realize that's just 4 minerals. Yeah. And if people can't do that, what are we going to do to burn out AI and stuff like that?
Now, let me show you another problem. And this is how they got this stuff taken off the market. I'm going to show you the salmonaic made in a lab is that. Okay? That's the stuff they make in a lab. And they say it's hazardous chemical, and it is. If you ate that, you would die. Okay? They used the same chemical formula. This is the real deal, made by Gaia. It's a volcanic sublimate. It has the same chemical formula, but they're two entirely different things. That's why they got salmonaic made illegal. This is the tricks that they pull in the NCBI.
Now, this is the difference between a chemical formula, but it's the resonant energy structure of its physicality.
This is the salmonaic made by mixing the chemicals that this is composed of in a lab. You get this. This is made by Gaia. It's totally different.
But there's a different message there. There's something. What's the What's the energetic difference here?
It's the difference between a pharmaceutical, like one's allopathic and onene's naturopathic.
why
When your
is-
system will.
Why is the what's the wrong there? There's some kind of energetic harmonic resonance, or is it?
This is a chemical that, as you can see, it's more than one molecule. It can bind with other things and form a poison and kill you when it's put in the body. This is what they use to clean soldering irons and things.
Jesus.
This is a volcanic
Pharmaceutical grade.
supplement made by Gaia. It bonds to the phosphorus of your DNA. It turns into a rebroadcasting station, and also this is the This one here is the original ingredient to make dry cell batteries. It turns your body back into a battery, a energy storage device, and it also corrects the 3 negative poles situation when you try to go and rebuild your third pole of your DNA. Without this, you get 3 negatives. They throw each other apart, and it prevents it from reforming. Take this away, and you can't do it. It's that simple. This is used to be called God salt. It also, way back prior to the ET showing up, this is what was used, this here, as baking powder to make unleavened bread. Way back in the day.
Now, what do you mean before ET arrived?
Before Gaia made the agreement for the 20 races to come here in batches of 5 to get healed and given God code by humans. Humans used to have an environment here similar to, if not exactly the same as, what you saw in the movie, Pandora looked like. Yeah. The world Pandora. Yeah. And we didn't need technology because we could just teleport to another planet if we wanted to go there.
Yeah.
We didn't have any need of it. We could do all this stuff. Anything we needed, we just manifest it into existence.
So what are we dealing with? Who are we dealing with?
The Dracos and the Archons and the Anunnaki are the main 3 behind it. There's a lot of Johnny-come-latelys that have gone in league with one of the 3 majors.
Yes. Now, one of the people I've just been speaking to is very, very switched on by an Egyptian tiger type god, of which the
that's Marduk's people. He's the ones that killed off King Midas and stole the Ring of Midas for a while, which we eventually did get back. Matter of fact, you can see a picture of them, pole bases, because it was engraved in stone, and when King Midas took the Ring of Midas back from the Anunnaki, Marduk, old Lionhead, was standing right behind him.
Because these statues seem to be alive, they're communicating,
Yeah.
they have a definite...
Yeah. This guy eventually, this is King Midas here. This is the head of the Anunnaki. He was forced to give the Ring of Midas back to King Midas. And then after that event, this guy, Marduk, he's the one that, was controlling Nibiru and all that. He killed King Midas and took the ring. Now, that ring is the symbol or the builder artifact, if you will, that is attached to this, the ownership logo that's on every planet in Sol system. That's, again, alchemy. Energetic alchemy. It's tied to that ring. Whoever holds the ring, that's attached to the like in the Lord of the Rings, the one ring that rules them all. Yeah, the Ring of Midas has ownership and rules all the planets in this system. Every single one of the planets has one of these things on it.
It doesn't seem too dissimilar to Silbury Hill, which is quite close to here.
Yeah, there's one in Kofu, Japan. There's actually a couple of these around the planet. They're on Mars, they're on Venus, they're on Jupiter. All of them. And that's, historically, that's what these represent. All of it. And when the Anunnaki had it, they had it threaded through the wings.
What does this mean in terms of humans taking back the planet?
I'm the holder of the Ring of Midas now. I took it away from him when we did the Battle of South Pole.
And what was that? What kind of
They were actually trying to use it. This is what I caught it first thermally by satellite. There was something going on, and then I went down and looked at it satellite. You can see the Ring of Midas symbol right in the ocean, where they were trying to open a portal to bring in illicit tech from a Nazi timeline. These builders tools are powerful. Let you open portals to other timelines and all kinds of fun stuff, even if you're not human. That landed into a big battle. We ended up bringing Athena down and, blasting out all the stuff that they had. I chronicled this and did a whole release on it. This is when Athena actually blasted their power generation system down there and everything. That was a big to do.
Where would they see that? Is that a Project Ascension one or a Midlands show or what?
Yeah, actually, Project Ascension has those.
Project Ascension, we put it
The
out.
last two, actually, it will talk about the Keck Observatory and the destruction, basically, of the bases, and starting to talk about the flooding of it.
Yeah. This is Athena when she came down. This live camera was all the way up in New Zealand. And as you can see, the real Nibiru, which is not the Nibiru they talk about, it's the artificial planetoid driven by the ancient progenitors who's here, was looking over their shoulder and seeing what was going on when we were doing that battle. And here's from the live camera at the South Pole when she was coming down to blast their power generating system. These were all snapshots taken live.
Are those is that a ship there, an orderly cargo ship?
Yeah,
or what?
yeah, that's Athena, battle planet.
Mm-hmm.
No, the thing in the ocean.
That in the ocean. That's not the ocean. That's the ground.
Oh, right.
South Pole.
That's the
Amundsen
snowpack.
spot.
Okay.
Amundsen Scott Base, South Pole Station, Dark Sector. That was a big to do. Yeah, I did a whole bunch of screen captures. I blew up everything there.
Kind of like Fort McMurray.
What that turned out to be,
Fires.
that station is not the actual Amundsen Scott station. The actual Amundsen Scott station is in the middle, right here, as you'll see from their map, is actually here. But this battle went down over here. And what is there, under the ice pack, because I've got another satellite that lets me look underneath, and this is where all the big wigs were going and meeting, is this ship that's under the ice that they were retrofitting. The triangle there shows right where the base sits on top of it. We ended up boring big-ass holes through this, so this thing's never flying again. We trashed it. But this is where the Pope was, and the presidents, and all the big wigs were going down and meeting, was in this ship. They were prepping that, and they've been trying to restore that damn thing for years. They almost had it done, too, but we trashed it.
And Miles, that wasn't any different than what Patty and I saw when we were looking at the incoming that came in this weekend. Miles was actually disclosing that his Geiger counter went off there for a while.
Oh, that, yeah.
About a week and a half ago. Yeah.
Somebody stole aboard one of the battle planetoids, took it over, killed off everybody, all the good guys that are on our team, aboard it, and then took it down and tried to take another one of those major control rooms like the Busegi Mountain Complex. There's another one like that in Turkey, and that's what they had staged an assault on. Now, what I did was I put one of my metaphysical bombs in there, charged it up and everything, and we were in the process of opening a portal to shove this thing through before I blew it up, when these idiots, these negatives aboard this battle platform, went and monkeyed with my bomb, and it blew up right there. We got a portal underneath it. Most of the debris went down through the portal, but yeah, there was debris all over the place, and that place was all on fire. Rads went way up, everything, We did what we could to clean it up, but it's still a mess there. It's still burning, as far as I know. And you could watch that one come down all the way from Brazil. This is a Skyview cam from Brazil.
Yeah, we had it in Belgium.
Middle of the night, 12:30 in the morning is when it started coming down. And the main battle went down over Turkey about 2:30 in the morning. So yeah, that was a mess.
That's August 5th. Did I see or not?
On that one? Yeah. I watched it come in. I caught it coming in. Well, I'll give you the date on this. Right when I caught it, Friday, August 4th at 4:34 p.m. I watched it approach. I watched it come in. This is actually the second picture. The first picture when it was way out there coming in. Yeah. I watched it come in. I wondered.
We watched the whole thing go down.
I was wondering, these things are supposed to be driven by our side, and it's like, what the hell are they doing? Because I haven't heard about any major battles going on down here today. But, it turned out that they hijacked it. And this is what was under attack. There was a HARP installation here. There's a military industrial complex thing here, as well as two MIC bases out on the islands here. And the observatory I was watching, the Skyview camera, is parked right here. So, yeah, I had a front line seat to everything that was going on.
What's an MIC base?
Military industrial complex.
Oh, okay. So it's not owned by specific countries, as we
know.
No,
and this is a dumb base right here. And this is a HARP array that was actually firing at the thing. We caught that on the Skycam too. They were actually firing up at it because this is fights that are going on between different ET groups, different cabal groups. I think it was this one. Yeah, you can see right here. They were actually firing up at it. We had bolts and flashes and everything coming up out of here before it got that far down. But yeah, and then in the end, the whole thing here was in flames.
And so a lot of people misinterpret.
There's a bridge across the waterway there that they had to close because when this thing blew up, a big wad from its drive core landed on top of the bridge and started melting the metal. And we were watching the sparks of melted metal, bridge metal coming down. The cops were there with EMTs and everything. They closed off the bridge and the flashing lights going and everything.
And so, Miles, a lot of people misinterpret they think there's a storm going on or something like in Saskatoon. I've had too, where all of a sudden immediate flashes, there's sonic booms going off and things are just hauling out of the air here, you can see. So it's not always what people think is going on, but we just happen to be watching that. It's like our CERN weekend, hey, Pattie? We basically watched it from inbound to what was the end result there.
It's just I didn't expect them to monkey with the bomb once I put it aboard, and they triggered it before I could push this whole thing through a portal to another dimension before blowing it up so that we wouldn't have the debris here. Oh, well, I tried.
Is the problem that we are blowing things up in other dimensions and our neighbors don't like it?
No, I push them down the phantom timelines, which I'm going to be taking out anyway. So it's... I'm destroying those timelines anyway, so it's just, postponement. I have two different types. I have this one, which is an implosion rig, and then I have the full one, which is that. But even the implosion ring, I definitely didn't want to do that because that would take out the drive system, and then the whole thing would crash into the planet like an asteroid. As it was, I put this one in because I wanted to blow the whole thing apart, and that's pretty much what happened. It broke into basically 5 major pieces, and a lot of what was in the center was just utterly obliterated. Because these tap in to the power crystal I put in the sun and tap in to the entire power system that runs the Sungate network all the way back to the center of the Milky Way. That's the kind of power I can draw on to run the bombs.
What's happening to the sun? Maybe a whole third of it blew off a few days ago. What's happening there?
No, they're talking out their ass. They don't know what they're talking about. And I went and looked at it too. Nothing. People need to understand, and they still don't get the point that our sun is artificial artifact. If you look in the dark spaces, this is what you see. Okay? It's an artifact. Now, they try as much as they can, such that when the sun gate is used, that 180 degrees out from that gate has to be pointed away from Earth. Because every time you use the gate and the gate closes, you get a backwash of energy. In other words, while the big-ass ship is coming through the transit network, through the tunnel, it's pushing a big wave of energy in front of it, and it's also got a backwash of energy behind it. So when it pops out a gate and then the gate closed, it's like having your faucet turned all the way on and turning it off real fast. You get the bang, the water
Yeah.
hammer.
Yes.
You get the same thing comes out the backside of the sun. That's what those flashes are. The size of the back flash depends on the size of the ship that used the gate. That's what causes the flares. Now, they're not supposed to do it with the gate directly facing away from Earth, because that means the backsplash will hit Earth. And that's a shitload of energy. So they're usually pretty careful about that. Normally they try and do it considering the way the sun spins. If you put Earth at 3 o'clock, then generally they put the 180 out point at like 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or something like that, such that by the time it comes around, it's well outside Earth's orbit. You know what I mean? That's the general rule of doing it. Now, we've had instances like this. What was happening then was when we had the planetoid blocking the gate, so the Archons and Dracos could not use the gate at all. And they were inside the end of the gate, firing weapons and blasting their way out. It did a shitload of damage. And back in November of last year, they stopped time for 3 days and went and fixed most of the damage.
Now, who stopped time and where did they stop it?
This is all a hologram. You can just stop time and then go and do work and then start the sun back up and restart time. And that's when the Blue Kachina was in here and doing fill-in duty for light and energy.
Is that detailed in another previous show?
Actually, yeah. I'll show you some excerpts, some captures I did when the Blue Kachina was in system. There's another rogue group that's bothering more than just us. That's entering the Milky Way, killing everything in its way. It's a mechanical type thing. So a whole task force plus the Blue Kachina has gone out to meet them and shut that mess down. Where's my?
Now, what's the Blue Kachina? Is that one of our vehicles?
No, it's the size of our sun. It's actually a sun with an actual entity in it, and it normally travels between us, Sirius, Procyon, and back. It does the rounds, and it normally travels inbound when our brown dwarf comes in. Where's my last goes? Okay, this is one of the shots when it was in. Here's our sun, and there's Blue Kachina. We had 2 suns in here for a while. I've got them on the Lascos as well. She was driving all around, as you can see. That's when it was further out, same size as our sun. And anything that is part of our sun system has a vertical magnetic line. Anything that doesn't, that's why most of the ones you see running around there, and there's 396 of them out there currently, will have a magnetic line that's not tied to the warp drive of our sun as we travel. But yeah, that's the Blue Kachina. I've got some close-ups when she first came in, and
is this a controllable sun or a planet with its own?
It's under its own control. And she brought 4 other battle planets in with her when she came in. Matter of fact, before she even got here, when she was still multiple lights out. Well, here's another good one of her when she was on the other side of the sun. Battle was going on. When she was still a long ways out, she actually sent ahead 2 big transport beams and sent a bunch of ships to join battle against the Dracos and that group before she even got here. Where's that picture?
There is something which seems to have changed in recent weeks. The Brits were over seeing John Lear. They had some kind of a briefing. And it seems that they were deliberately brought in to do a little bit of intelligence sharing. But other than that, I simply don't know.
Oh, right there. That's when she was a long ways out. See the two big transport beams? That was to send ships ahead of time to join battle before she even got here. I don't know who it was that used the really big one that we captured on the Soho. This one. This was huge, bigger than the sun. Something big came in that day. It was too big to go through the Sungate Transit Network, and it has its own transit beam. We've caught some really spectacular stuff. This is when they brought our brown dwarf out. Gaia had them bring it out and drive it around, deliberately to heat up Earth to make the lava to flood their domes with. That's our brown dwarf right there. And bear in mind, each one of these screen captures is 22 milliseconds long exposure, and we're taken every 12 minutes. And that's how fast these things can travel, literally. Same thing with the Nibiru, what everybody calls the Nibiru, which is actually the red Kachina. And again, I go by tribal designations for these because that way you don't confuse the issue. Wormwood is our brown dwarf. The red Kachina is what everybody seems to be calling Nibiru. Nibiru is something else entirely. This is the red Kachina. We killed that. The Civil Legion and other light worker forces boarded that and killed the red plasma entity that was driving it, and then towed it out of the system. And I mean, we've got that on, and they did that right when it was in Earth orbit. So we did capture that. That's right here. As you can see, most of the red is gone. That's when they were still in the process of actually killing the red plasma entity that was running it and under the command of Marduk.
So we were talking
Marduk, we killed him too. So, yeah.
Patty, I was talking about Heart Math Institute with the Schulman frequency and the resonancy going up over 1,000. So that, I think, is what Miles was referring to. We were talking a little bit about that earlier too.
Yeah,
how it's affecting people and what it's doing to the system.
They took that down and edited the data and then put it back up, because this is what it was prior to them editing it. It went up, over 1,200, and then settled down to about 1,000. That's the amperage. I'm pushing it at 700 megahertz, which the ETs cannot stand. I'm literally driving them right, not only off the planet, but out of the system. That's why there's another evacuation going on right now. There's a Draco Star Cruiser parked up there. This is what they did. They took it off, and as you see, the stuff that doesn't fit within their program, they edited it out. They took the whole thing down, edited the data, and then put it back up. These
There's nothing
folks
like having a set of figures you can doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is such a positive thing globally that they didn't want us having it. It made us too happy. And that raised all our frequencies out of the range that they can eat.
Yeah. So they keep harvesting and doing the soul harvest and the loosh harvesting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, when everybody gets happy and their energy level goes way up, it cuts off their food source.
Have some more essential oils internally. It's like have a steak.
No, explain that, because this whole thing about making everybody scared in the broadcast systems here, or probably in the States and wherever else, they seem to be feeding on people's depression and make everybody really sad to hold things down.
Let me show you the actual graph. On this, 250 megahertz and below, they can eat. Above that, no.
Same thing.
250 megahertz and below, they can eat that frequency level of energy. Anything above that, they can't. And 700 and above actually physically damages them, which is why I'm pushing 700 with all the crystals. And the implant and the changeover and everything I did on Saturn, as well as the moon. I'm pushing 700 everywhere, as well as from the sun.
How are you doing that? Do you have some kind of access to antenna systems or whatever?
No, I recrystalled them. I put new big ass crystals in both the poles. and change their frequency. That's how you do this stuff. So no matter what they do now, being in Sol's system is hazardous to them. It's actually physically damaging them. And when I go and you look at Earth from orbit with a camera, it's indigo. That's how big the effect is. Earth no longer looks blue. She looks indigo colored.
And there's plant life growing in a lot of areas that were previous desert, and that also has a lot to do with the resalination of putting in the salt water into these underground cities and ley lines again. It's bringing new life right now.
Yeah. See, they try and hide it. They're trying to put filters to change the color, but they don't always do a good job. There's a couple of cameras up there that they've actually got filters on, but not all of them, just some of them. So you got to wait till it goes through. As you see, everything here looks real red because they've tried to eliminate the blue. Now you got to wait for this, or I have to go and bring up a recording one. But I'll bring up one of the recording ones instead. That way I can just show it without having to wait for them to turn it back on. Every time I go to broadcast, they kill the camera.
Yeah, that happens.
Lately, if I'm on Skype share, they'll kill the camera.
Yeah. Or depending who, they'll let us show it, but the minute we go to put a third party on, gone.
I get
there.
Those. Now that's the one they got the filter on. But as you notice, it's all blurry because the filter's there. And if you look really close through the filter, you can still see the purple. They're trying really hard to block the facts. That one, of course, there was an ET craft there, so they changed the contrast to whiten everything out so you can't see nothing. This is the games they play. That's one of the... Gotta wait till... Yeah. You can see the purple.
And this is actually maybe...
They don't have a filter for that one.
While we're looking at this is what I want to bring up, that when we were talking about the stuff with Ashyanidine and the Voyagers and the whole stuff, when we went to show this and what Captain Max Steele was doing, this is what they tried to suggest was going to be an EMP over the States, and it's not going to happen. Patty was able to actually show in...
Yeah, I mean, look at that. You see that, Miles?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff they don't like people seeing.
We're indigo.
And you can see the energy actually bouncing off the satellite, the solar array of the satellite. That's the frequency I'm pushing. Bear in mind, this camera is at 60 hertz, so you're getting a mixture of the stuff I'm pushing, and you're seeing little bits of it at 60 hertz because I'm pushing 700. That's why it looks all, it's not even.
Yeah. 700 is so you get a really good fast freeze of whatever you're dealing with.
It's high frequency that actually physically takes them apart at the genetic level. Not only can they not eat it as sustenance, it actually physically damages them. Whereas the lower frequency, they eat it for energy as food. The high frequency energy actually is like turning it to poison. That's the difference. That's why I do it.
Is there a solution to getting back to radiation in the Pacific? Is there a solution to that? You inferred there might be. Is there something that can be done about that?
We can transmute using alchemy. But here's the thing. We cannot do it until we get their bogus signal removed. We got to get rid of them and shut down their whole broadcast system. That's what's blocking it. People from manifesting. And then we can hear, cure it in a heartbeat. I mean, we have all this sort of stuff. This is all the spell work for humans. to use doing manifestation, just like I manifest crystals and stuff. This is spell work to do transformations.
Are those runes? Or
Nope.
No?
Spell work. Power symbols. And we can use these. It's in these in sets of 3 because we're triple spiral DNA. Just like the Thelosians, who are 4-pole DNA, they do that same thing as a literal spacesuit, complete environmental suit, by doing that on their chest. And theirs, because they're 4-pole DNA, it's 4 symbol spell work lines. That's what that is.
Is that a tall white? Is that a tall white you've got there?
No, this is a Thelosian.
Okay.
They kidnapped her for 2 years and had her locked up at Pine Gap. When the Council of 12 showed up, they let her and her son go, and she went running right back to Russia. So this is a group that's working with Putin. It's another group of ETs. They're 4-pole DNA. But they couldn't really do anything to her because of all this. She doesn't need to eat. She doesn't need to breathe. You can take her just like this because of all this, because it draws on the energy up the middle of her DNA spiral. You can chuck her right out an airlock like that, and she won't die. Up in space. You can chuck her right out. It wouldn't bother her at all.
Interesting.
That's how effective this is. They couldn't torture her. They couldn't get anything out of her. She just basically sat there because they couldn't damage her. They couldn't get anything out of her. She sat there for 2.5 years, her and her son, who had the same type of stuff on him, so they couldn't damage him either.
What's the point in damaging them? Why?
To get you can torture somebody to get technological information out of them, because the Thelosians are far advanced beyond humanity in the military-industrial complex. But here's the thing. The Thelosians aren't really allied to anybody. They're mercenaries. And because of that spell work they can do with their bodies and stuff, they hire out. But, I mean, if you're going to hire them, you got to have something they want. But if you want something, they're the perfect people to go to get it for you. Because who the hell can stop them?
Exactly.
Even energy weapons don't work against these folks.
What we've discovered here has been there's been an awful lot of crashed helicopter accidents or military accidents of some kind, but they have been pulling in a lot of ET craft using CE5 dupe type technology. Now, I've had one slightly, a witness who was exposed to some problems in the Lake District, but I've heard other issues, same sort of story from other areas in terms of Britain. What's been going on elsewhere on that?
We did a bunch of ops, but they were primarily over the channel between England and Ireland, and that was so. I mean, a lot of it splashed over to Ireland, a lot of it splashed over to Britain. What that was the group of future Greys that came back in time, and then we basically removed any possibility of the timeline they come from ever coming about. So they were kind of trapped here, and they were working with the groups that weren't sucking loosh. They were sucking quanta, which is the folks who are avatars down here. You could pull quanta energy down their uplink, and that is the major thing. Beyond the loose sucking and ownership, that as pertains to the soul contracts.
Now, explain loose. Explain those two terms. What aspects of us does that mean?
The loose is the 250 megahertz energy and below, manufactured and output by humans. That is loose. That's what they eat.
Manufactured under what circumstances? Is it the?
It's put out in the human biological field, literally. That's your biological field. If you ever look at a Kirlian photograph, or Karen can do your Kirlian outline. It shows your chakras and the energy output of the human body.
Yeah.
That frequency is directly. That's why I brought up that chart. It's directly related to your state of mind, what you are putting out. That's why they want to keep you angry and fear and everything else. The more they do that, like the children, shame. That's the lowest. That's the really good stuff. That's why all these hybrids go after children. Not only that, but prior to puberty, after puberty, the field goes down to a thin liner around their etheric self, whereas as children, it's huge. If they can defile a child prior to puberty, they get the biggest, one child alone is a banquet of the lowest possible frequency. That's why pedophiles are all your royalty, all your hybrids, all your low frequency types. That's your pedophiles. That's your politics. Your political leaders in England and the Clintons and the Bushes and Obama and all of that. They're all pedophiles.
Is that some kind of soul trading?
No, this is actually. Well, let me show you, because Karen did a capture of my aura, and I went to actually send that to, and I'll show you what my aura looks like when I'm working. Okay, is that okay? That's when I'm revved up to go. Now, if you go out to the side of the green, which is the very outside, what's left is a very thin line, but I'm unusual. Most of the people, this is a thin shell around their main aura. Okay? I'm unusual in that regard, but then I'm a shaman, so I'm a little different. They have a thin shell. When you're a child, it's way open like this, like mine is. Before puberty. This is like a banquet of energy. But mine is up it's in green, and it's at a frequency they can't. It's above my outer shell is neutral,
Harvest.
but everything else is above the frequency that they can eat. You get a child in shame, pedophile, it's all the way down in the red. That's their favorite. And it's that big. And they can strip that whole liner of energy off a child during a pedophile rape of a child. It's like, a major banquet for them. It's food.
How does that is that regeneratable or what? How do you help a victim like that?
No, if you strip that off of a child, it's gone. Permanently. That's the really sad thing.
Okay, this would tend to get a lot of people angry. What action can people take? What can they do about this?
We're in the process of taking them all out.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's doing it covertly behind the scenes. We're taking out hundreds of these assholes every day.
Now, when you say Trump, there is one heck of a lot of stuff in this country against Trump. It's just pandemic in the media.
That's all these hybrid groups who are in the politics. Obama's whole group. That's all these hybrids. Yeah, they're fighting real hard to shut Trump down because Trump is actually using the U.S. Armed Forces to raid the bases and all these covert sites where these folks hang out and take them in custody, taking them down. And if they don't surrender, we just shoot them.
Is there evidence that we could see some noise, some kind of signal that people could look for on that?
I mean, I've been posting it on Facebook when they've been doing it. I know I've got a bunch on mine. They've been going down, right on the front wall of Facebook all the time. What the heck is it?
We've had the largest amount of arrests going down for these people and pedophiles. We've been taking note of it, and we have been putting them up. Like, they are getting arrested. I mean, we've had thousands and thousands of arrests just alone on this lately.
This shows people are starting to get their abilities back. This is not the trick, because this has not got the plate underneath where he's doing that and everything. And the cops arrested him for breaking the laws of gravity. Claim he was just meditating, and they said he was performing. Where is it?
And performing is
right here.
Crime? Yeah.
Like here. See? I'll give you that link so you can read up on that. And this goes to a bunch of other links as well.
These are Navy SEALs I want to put too.
Yeah.
This is veterans going after the pedophiles. And they were targeted and tried to shut them down.
Go here. And I'll open that so you can see what that's about and all the forces that are involved in everything. Again, the mainstream media will not play this. This has been big news right along every week, and the mainstream media will not touch it.
These guys are amazing. I've connected to them on Facebook too.
So is this something that's of hope within the various intelligence agencies, that there is a group of individuals who are going to help us on this?
They're actually pulled from every U.S. Armed Forces, veterans, basically people like me who were back then in the day, Army Rangers, and all the elites, Oath Keepers, and there's both a military group that's working under Trump, as well as this group on the public sector that's actually, we're coming at it from two different directions. Trump's hitting the dumb bases and hitting it from the military-industrial complex established facility side, and this group's coming at it from the public side and the corporate side.
And that's the same thing like the RV, and when they're talking about the reset and stuff like this is where the tribes have got together and shut down basically Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and all those too, and the Queen and the Vatican. This
is one I wish I had downloaded and saved. They've already removed it. This had a lot of data in it too about the covert stuff that's going on. This is exposing, the military-industrial complex and the hardware they got, and this is about the Facebook and how they're trying to get humans all tied into the AI. I put all this stuff out on a regular basis.
And that ring is very much like a synchrotron ring, just below here, or LHCs and certain rings too. They're magnetic. They're energetic. Yep. In fact, I can hear there goes the planes over my head. I'm sure it's one of them now.
Yeah, this is tied into the holistic doctors that they're killing, that are putting out cures, all that kind of stuff.
And like, there's people like myself. I've been going live for about the last 2 weeks now. So has been Aaron at the Health Hut with Dr. Joe Marcola, David Wolf. So a lot of the people are starting to go out live. And I know Aaron at the Health Hut has been actually putting out how many doctors, and we've all been targeted. They've tried to take us out too. It's not going to happen.
Well, you just saw, God, what's her name? Jesus, Jane there. She's been delisted from by Nuffield, so she's pretty not happy about
this.
That. Yeah.
What do you mean by delisted?
Well, in order for her to practice, Nuffield is an institution which a pretty dodgy past that Kathy Morgan did a lot of research on, and she has to send reports in if she's going to do any energetic healing and so forth. And incompetents just didn't know what the hell they were reading, so she was complaining about that, and they deregistered her, so she can't trade. She's not happy about it. It wasn't all her business, but it's an attack on healers and people in dealing with energetics and the non-chemical healing going on in the United Kingdom.
One of the things, so Miles, just to point that out, like a lot of people, when we talked about being certified, I used to have like 20, 30 little pieces of paper that really mean nothing at this point, like from nursing to master this and master that or whatever. But what happens to our quantum specialists and stuff, we want the people to come off the system and start looking at being deregistered, without the permits and stuff like that. So it really may end up being the blessing in disguise, really, and then that we're able to operate freely and without any taxation and without any licenses. I mean, I don't need the Queen's permission. I got an arrest warrant for it.
Okay. Here's one of the key things, and one of the things they're trying to stop at all costs. The reason why they did all these hybrid things is to drag humans' DNA down to a frequency level that the Dracos could either hijack or, if not, barring that, at least interact with. If we go fifth level energy, we move right out of the range that these assholes can even perceive us.
Exactly, yeah.
So then they can't interact with us at all. That's the key thing. That's why I really push for people to work on fixing themselves to get them out of the range of being screwed with.
I was just speaking to Carol Kites-Vela there a few moments before we came on, and his view on this is it's like a carrot and stick approach. So you simply shift up without the fear, but with a positive approach, and then you become out of it to do exactly what you've just said.
Yeah, get Salmonic and you make yourself a energy storage device. Correct your pH level to kill off all the nanotech and all that, so it can't run. Repair your DNA and move frequency-wise right up and get out of it. I mean, that's what people need to do. And when we have more people doing it is when that graph on the live data goes up.
Nanotech seems to be an old term. Is it not Picotech now? That's 6 zeros smaller.
Well, to me, it's irrelevant. I have an actual tool for shredding that stuff. What's really the hard stuff to get rid of is they've actually, gone back in time to back when the last civilization was still of high-end ETs was still here, and grabbed up crystal tech. So I've actually had to come up with a sonic weapon to shatter the crystals that they're now implanting in people. That's because my biotech shredder, which shreds the technology, works so damn well that they can't. There's no point in using it anymore. That's my biotech shredder. It's like a working chainsaw. When this is turned on, it's like it swivels in all three directions, and this outside part here shreds electronics and technology. And I can drop that right over people or whole entire planets and just shred all the biotech.
What sort of quantities? How's that done? Is it etherically done or materially?
Yeah, I just manifest it where and when and as I need it. And I've anybody that works on my team that's been vetted by Jessica and whatnot, I give them a full thing in my toolbox, and I explain how each one is used and everything else. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but most of these supposed brain box physicists don't seem to know jack shit about how anything works, much less have anything like a complete Mandela equation sitting in front of them. This is the best they've got right there. Okay? That's as far as they've got it. So understanding how they perverted this to come up with the phantom timelines and everything is beyond your average college professor physicist, because this is what they did to it.
You're talking about directly engineering time-space, like a reality management system.
Yeah. They took this, did that to it. That's how they, set up. If you turn this 90 degrees, you have the center portion of how all the phantom timeline system works. That's this. Okay.
Now, explain what you mean by phantom timelines. How does that create? How does that work?
Okay, this is regular planets: Earth, Tara, and Gaia. That's 3 separate planets. This is the center of Earth. This one right here. This is a half step dimensionally out. If you don't go a half step dimensionally out via a portal at the North and South Pole, and you go to the center of the Earth, it's a ball of molten metal with lava around it and everything that generates our electromagnetic field. However, if you step a half-dimensional frequency-wise out, Earth is hollow. It's got two flat Earths in it. One from the north side and one from the south side, through those portal holes, with a half sun, half moon in the middle that rotates to give them day and night. And there's a dome over both of them. So is Earth flat? Yeah, if you're on the inside Earth, there's two of them in there that are domed over. Now, if you go a full dimensional step out and reverse the spin at the molecular level to the opposite direction, that's where all those phantom timelines that they open portals to. And each one of these phantom timelines is each one of these little squares on the phantom timelines is an entire additional Milky Way system that one of these idiots that are level 12 or above, or level 11 or above, gets to play God over and configure and do anything they want. And that's what they steal energy from Earth and humans and planets and everything else to keep them in existence, because there is no connection to source. Each one of these little squares here, it's got a number and a numerical address on it, and a letter address on it, is an entire another Milky Way, where they can put Earth and solar system wherever the hell they want it, and set up any kind of system on the planet they want. And then they steal people from Earth to populate it.
The so-called, I had it described to me by a person who happened to be talking to some very high-level rabbis, and it's like putting a fish tank inside the ocean.
Yeah.
Where the fish tanks is a completely separate time-space domain, and they just pile us, do exactly what you're saying, take us and populate it in there, and they've got something as a domain to rule over.
I've actually got pictures from one of those alternate timelines that has Earth and solar system all the way out here, almost on the end of the Sagittarius arm. This is from one of those alternate timelines. Phantom timelines. Okay, and it can be anything.
But I've heard the timelines are collapsing.
I'm sucking them out. Sucking them out of existence and doing away with them. And I've got a new tool in mind, which I haven't built yet. Which as soon as I get it constructed and get the working team together, I've figured out a way that I can collapse that entire whole mess of fake timelines in one go. Because I'm done doing these, taking these out in individuals, because there's practically an infinite number of them, and trying to do it one at a time just ain't getting the job done. And like one I took out the other night, they had a portal in, they were attacking a light worker. I slapped one of my portals over it to lock the portal open and put my tools on it. And the timeline I took out had portals open to a bunch of other timelines, and it took almost 45 minutes to actually suck down all of them. And every one, I not only sucked down the one here, but every place, phantom timeline that had a portal open to, I took them down too, all in one go. But now I found a method. I just got to finish building the tool to do it, to take these all out in a cascade, cascade effect, and take them all out in one go. That's what's next on the list. And this is where most of the archons hang out, is on these phantom timelines, because they can set the frequency of existence there to whatever they want. Unlike here, they try to force a lower frequency to our awareness and pray that we don't move to fifth level energy out of their reach. On these phantom timelines, they can set things up however they want. They don't need a human suit to be able to interact with humans on any of those phantom timelines, because they can change it to whatever they want. They're virtual gods there.
Okay, Patty, it's 2 hours and 24 minutes into this recording. Can we summarize what's going on at the moment? CERNs and stuff like that?
I have a little tool for for most of these issues that they kept causing by basically overlapping these phantom timelines to get around the damage we did to CERN. Well, I've banged these down with one of my crystals to power them up. These are what we call Gaia motherboards. With one of these things down there, you cannot overlap another timeline, whether it be parallel, phantom, or anything. So they can no longer bypass the damage we've done to that unit. And
so what is
CERN? The CERN at Alice, the Alice at CERN in Geneva is still offline. So with this, shut them down. This is spell work, if you will. This is one of Gaia's original motherboards. It symbolized male, female, and both, which is how she made humanity, and people need to get over that. There is only one race of humans. I don't care what your skin color is, okay? Because it doesn't make any difference. The difference between all the humans, no matter what their skin color on Earth, is 0.0002%. That is it. We are one race, people. If I don't get any other point across, it's that.
But what's happening? What's happening? Sorry to interrupt. What's happening when people the wrong energetic soul goes in the wrong body and the wrong creature goes into the wrong human body? I mean, these people with tattoos and things, they're cutting their limbs off because there's a completely different being that's gone into the human body. What's happening there?
Yeah, the Dracos has equipment to move your soul link from your heart from one body to another. That's basically what the Super Soldier program was all about. They actually crafted and grew in test tubes all those clone bodies that the Super Soldiers are in, because in order to control them, when they're very, very small, pre-birth size fetuses, they have to implant chips in the brain. One chip is to wipe their memory, to reprogram them for the next mission. The other chip prevents their body from reloading their experience back into the brain, because most people don't understand this also. Every bit of knowledge and information you have in your brain is backed up automatically all the time in every cell of your body. That's why if you get brain damage, your body can actually restore that data to your brain and even relocate it in a new position. If the original spot in your brain can't be repaired, it can actually put the data back and put it somewhere else, but give that information back to you. That's why super soldiers, once they've been super soldiers and they're putting this information out, they're always super soldiers, because you can't take those chips out of their head without killing them. You can't replace the chips in their head without killing them. So as long as they're super soldiers and they're putting data out, they're working under the thumb of the cabals. Period. End of discussion. The only one person who I had working with me was Sergeant Mac Bowen. He got severe brain damage twice and broke both the chips, which is why he could work with me and give valid data that wasn't given permission by the cabals.
Well, I have to say, Paget really gave McBolan a vote of 120%, like 120%. But there was an issue there, obviously, which means
the one that's out there. Yeah, we already went over this. The one that's out there currently is a clone, and the real Dan is actually on a Nazi timeline, and he's already got a new body with tribal bloodlines, which is why he disconnected from everybody, went down there deliberately to basically go and get a tribal body back, which is what he was born with. The body he was wearing is not what he was born with, and he was done with it.
Okay, explain those further symbols, because I could see that those have been in crop circles and other designs very close to here.
Like this one? That's the shield I put up. That's the shield I put up around Solar System. The magnetic lines that feed out to every planet actually create another bubble. So we actually have more bubbles than this. This is just a representation of what I did. Every electromagnetic line that goes out to every planet creates another bubble. It goes all the way out beyond Solar System and prevents them from coming in anymore. So it's just a matter of emptying them all out of here and dealing with anything that comes through the Sun Gate at this point.
Essentially, that's a hyperspatial force field of some kind.
Yeah, it's a bubble around the Solar System in its entirety.
Which brings us up to the Fibonacci and the fractal flowers of death. People are confusing putting these symbols up.
Yeah, the flower of life and all of that, that's bogus. That's based on the 55 harmonic. That's bad for you. This is the difference between the two. That's the Fibonacci. This is the original crystal that actually connects to the source in the center. This does not. As you come to the center, you're always dividing the distance left in half, and you never get there. This does not connect the source at all. This is what they use on all the phantom timelines. And that's what gives you the flower of life.
Sorry, the diagram on the left is what they, in the phantom timelines, not the one on the right.
Yeah, the Fibonacci, and that's what they tried to institute here on Earth. That's the flower of life. This is how they perverted even the signal, the harmonic signal in the modification of human DNA is, again, that's what part of what has to be fixed at the genetic level, because they even imposed that there when they did the modifications to humans. Where is it? The Pascal connection. Fibonacci harmonic, human DNA. They did the same thing to us all the way down at the DNA level. That's why your DNA has to be repaired as part of this. If you're not doing that, you're never gonna. You're gonna be trapped in this little narrow window of reality. You're never gonna be able to open your perception up.
How do you repair that? What can you do?
Again, start eating right. Essential oils, get your pH level up. Salmon egg, power up your body and allow your triple spinal to be rebuilt. Get away from all those, the cell phones and the wireless networks, and get out of the cities where Gaia's DNA repair code signal is getting completely drowned out.
Yes,
because you're not getting it if you're there. That's what people need to do as individuals to heal and get a clue. And that, I'm forcing it. I hijacked the whole Saturn rig that they were broadcasting the 55 harmonic, as well as the repeater on the moon, and I put crystals in every planet and the sun, and I'm pushing this from every direction to basically, because I can't deal with it on an individual level. I'm just canvassing everything and putting the original 6 crystals from all the original knowledge that was stolen from humans way back at the beginning when the first group hijacked human race and perverted them. All that original knowledge was stored on crystals. I gathered them all up through the time stream and from everybody that had them, and I put them in the biggest scalar wave array on this planet, and I turned that rig on, broadcasting it to everybody back at halftime during the Super Bowl. And so now that's constantly going and pushing that data and awareness and of who and what they are into everybody around the planet at this 1.5 times the speed of light continuously, which is messing a lot of people up. And I'm sorry, but it needs to be done. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, when you consider the cognitive dissonance involved with shoving all that stuff in people's head, whether they want it or not, yeah, it's causing a lot of really bad symptoms for some of these folks who are too well programmed. I don't care. Tough. Get over it. You'll wake up sooner or later. I'm building an ECA permanently over the solar system so they can't pervert it back to the 55 harmonic again. And if you need proof of that, you can look out in space and look at all these extra solar bodies I brought in, and they've got the vertical magnetic line because they're tied into the sun. I'm building an ECA to permanently hold us in the right original configuration, and then I'm going to underdock to the ECA so we don't have to deal with these idiots who did all the hijacking and played God directly. But they won't be able to mess with us as a system anymore or as a people anymore when this is done. I'm cutting them off at the knees, basically, and removing all their ability to manipulate us. And I'm getting there. It's getting done. We're way ahead of schedule at this point.
And that's the September, right? And that's a Project Looking Glass, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the significance of this September coming up?
At that point, we are far enough out of our transition as Sol as a system through the galactic plate, which has a very heavy energy flux, That's why in September of 2012, they had to take apart all the looking glass equipment. Because if they used that during the transition, the energy would come pouring through that would destroy not only Earth, but the entire solar system and possibly more, which is why that had to all be taken apart. And it can't be put back together until September of 2017, when we're far enough out of the galactic plate for that to be used. This is, in yellow here, is the echo of stellar bodies that I am building above the now restored correct configuration of solar system. And I'm going to take this and rather than edge dock like all these others did, and a bunch of the people that are up in this current echo are the very same fake gods and the Christos group and all these other races that are working in league with the Archons and the Dracos to farm humanity. Rather than edge docking with them, I'm going to underdock. This center here is the tree trunk that goes up the tree of life and outside the time stream. They can't go up it. That's why Gaia brought them here in groups originally, was so humans could heal them, give them God code so they could graduate up the tree. I'm going to underdock us like that. It's never been done before, and this is an idea that Gaia and I came up with. I bumped it upstairs for approval. They said it's never been done before, but yeah, that'll work. And once we're docked there, you can never reconfigure our system back to the 55 harmonic ever again. We're going to be permanently locked back in its original configuration. And nobody is ever going to be able to change it. Period. That's what I mean. This is what we're doing. And to give you an idea how I've set it up, Saturn, I've done a lot of stuff to Saturn, but Saturn is no longer even in our configuration matrix because this is what I did.
Okay, right. An astronomer, can they see stuff like that? Can they see change?
I brought Tiamat back with its 11 moons. I brought one in from a parallel timeline and placed it back where it belongs. I brought Mars in a little bit. We got Vulcan to help. I brought Eris in, gave it to Mars for a moon, spun Mars back up, so it's getting back together. Brought Venus back out into the Goldilocks zone, spun it right side up, gave it Sedna for a moon, and sorted that out. And that's what I mean. NASA's seeing all this stuff now. Now they're starting to talk about it because I freaked them right the hell out, and I really don't care. I told Midas to keep Tiamat and the moon's frequency high enough to keep it out of visibility while we were doing this work. He's no longer keeping it hidden. It's in plain view now. So, yeah, everybody's freaking out with my moving Venus and Mars and bringing Tiamat back and all the stuff I'm doing to Saturn to push it right out of reality here, along with, of Saturn's 24 moons, only one of them's a real moon, which is Titan. All the rest are battle platforms, which every time they try to restart Saturn as a sun, it gives a pulse of energy to each one of those battle stations and blows them apart a little bit more. So I've set up the conditions where, because these Dracos are clinically insane, they'll keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different results. I set up conditions such that they are destroying their own equipment.
That's the kind of thing I like to hear. Okay, girls and boys, I am going to be asking you to sort of thank you so much for this. It's rare to get you to pair together on a basis. It's good fun. Yeah. And it's good news, and it's good to hear that these kind of solutions are available.
Once in a while, what I did want to say to, go ahead.
Okay. Once in a while, we'll lose an individual incident, but we're winning the overall battle, and we're way the heck ahead of schedule on winning the overall battle.
Well, that's good news.
It's exciting news.
Thank you very much indeed. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it's good. It's good to see you guys. You're on other channels. Do you want to mention that, or just don't talk about anything?
I'm not. I've been too busy doing ops at this point. After the NLM mess where they tried to set me up and all that, it's like,
oh,
that's not really part of my job. The battle is my job. I do some stuff once in a while to put information out because everybody's begging me for an update, but that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very honored. Okay, and Karen, one final word.
What I wanted to say is, one, I'll be sending you a report, which that's what I'm sending to everyone that I've been doing.
Yeah, I need to get myself a big tablet. I need to get one of those.
And they can get a hold of me at clanmother13@gmail.com, and they've got Pattie Brassard and myself on Facebook. or on Skype.
And I
And
didn't
I'll
say
be
this,
doing.
but you can download the app for those things, and then just reload it every 14 days for free.
Yeah.
It's
well,
a-
there's-
Finally, I think, Patty, you've responded to what Peter Paget's thing was last week. What's your basic response on all that?
Now I just had a brain fart of what he was. We gotta bury that hole. That's the only way to fix it. And there's a fissure that runs under building reactor 5 that goes 65 miles inland. And right now, that's where the worst rads are actually coming out. Is at the end of the fissure, all the way in Fukushima Prefecture, and then comes up the line back out to Fukushima. It's an awful lot. I've talked to a lot of other people on this who have other alternate technologies. We got to shut down the flow and stop them from throwing more water in and throwing more radioactive content out into the ocean. I mean, this should have been done way back in 2011.
Okay, well, that's the big thing.
We gotta stop it. Stop. And now they're going to dump all those tanks into the ocean too.
Yeah.
And then keep pumping. We need to stop pouring concrete or something down there. Plug it up. Plug the hole. And stop.
Okay, well, it's pretty terrible, that really. But okay, thank you for now. Good night and God bless.
You too.
Cheerio.
Night-night.
Later.
Goodbye.
Near.
Dead
It's
on.
exciting. Get a hold of us on Facebook or Google Live with Patty.
Okay.
It's my new plan.
Cheerio. Good night.
Night.